I hope my screen is visible to you. Yes, okay, fine. So this was a program which we were discussing in the last session, and we had one poll like static memories, whether every object share the common memory or what, and we had the poll on that. Most of the people got the correct answer, and so we are going to continue the same point, right? So like final, every object have its own copy, but nobody can modify the value. Static, all the objects share the common copy. Any object can modify. And there was also one question in the chat box which I saw, I've seen in after the session. The question was, can we modify the value of the static variable using class name? Yes, you can do that. In fact, in the earlier session, we have done this. Like if you want to modify the value of the k, what we can do is we can say c, which is the class name, dot k is equal to 33. So this is absolutely fine that you can modify the value of the static variable directly with the class name without using an object. That is possible. Then like final static or static final, we are allowed to create a final variable which is static. So what is the difference in this final static and static final? No, they both are same. This is allowed since JDK 1.8. And what do you mean by final static or static final? It means that the variable is static, that nobody can change the value of, nobody can change the value because it's a final. And static means the memory used by that variable is common among all the objects. So that is an important thing. Like if you make the variable only static, then the variable it shares the common memory among all the objects. If you make the variable final, then the variable is not sharing a memory among all the objects, but nobody able to change the value of it, right? So for suppose you have created 10 objects, is all 10 objects will have value of ID variable as 1, and these 10 objects are not able to modify it. Whereas if you create 10 objects and if there is a k value initially, if you are not modifying it, the value of k will remain as 1. But this k is shared among all the objects and they can modify the value. So as soon as suppose out of 10 objects, object number 3 modified the value of k, then all the remaining 9 objects will get this updated value because this k, memory of k, is common for all objects. That is the important part. Now, why we stressed on this point is this ID variable of interface is a final variable, right? So it's a constant variable in Java. So you can't change the value of this ID variable. So what we have seen in the last session is the abstract or the pure virtual method in the interface. JDK 1.8 onwards, you can have a method which have a body or a definition inside the interface. The method is called as a default method. And we can have a constant members, data members inside the interface. So that was a point. And then we also seen how we can inherit an interface. So we are going to continue with our same point. Let me remove this all part from the second. Let me remove this class C also. Let me remove this class B. Let me remove everything from the interface. I'll keep the interface A as blank, and we will simply add one method, abstract method. So this is my interface, right? A very basic interface. Now, inheritance in Java have like basically there are 3 types of inheritances that we can do. One is a simple inheritance, then multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance. Now, let me open up a paint immediately. So let's say I have a class A. Let's call this as A. Then I have a class B. Let's call this as class B. And if this B class inherits from A, then this is simple or single level inheritance, right? So this is possible in Java. Now what we can do is we can create a class C. Let's call it as C. And this C inherits from B. So this is multi-level, level 1, level 2, level 3. So we have 3-level inheritance. So we call this as a multi-level inheritance. And this is possible with the classes as well as interfaces, right? So multi-level inheritance is possible in Java. Now there is a statement in while defining Java's features, there is a statement made which is multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java. So let's understand what is a multiple inheritance. Let me use a new diagram or new paint. So what is a multi-level inheritance? Multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance means uh, you have a base class. Let's call it as again A, which is a base class. You have another class called as B. These both classes are completely independent. So you have class A and class B. And now there is a class C. Class C. Let's say this is class C. And if you do inheritance in these classes, like B and C, A and B is getting inherited by C at the same time. And these are the classes. Like A is a class, A has to be a class, B has to be a class, and C also has to be a class. If this is a picture, then this inheritance is not allowed. This inheritance is not allowed. If all A, B are classes, like both are classes, and C is a class, and C tries to inherit two classes, A and B, then this turns into an error. So Java is not promoting multiple inheritance in the case of classes. It resolves automatically many problems, like we have discussed something called as a diamond problem, or we have also seen something called as an ambiguity, and which can be resolved using colon operators in the case of C++. So to do not start providing or generating a diamond problem, C++ simply avoids multiple inheritance in the case of classes. So this is not allowed. You can't do this, right? But it doesn't mean that Java do not have multiple inheritance at all. Java do have multiple inheritance. How come Java supports a multiple inheritance? Let's see. So let me take another diagram now, immediately, new window. So now what we will do is we will use one class. So I'll say class A. Let's see, let's assume this is a class A, right? This checkbox is a square box is a class A. And there is another thing, user defined type, but this time it is an interface. And I'll call it as B. Now I have one class which is A and one interface which is B. Now what we can do is we can create a class C. Now we can create a class C, and this class C can inherit both now. This class C can inherit both. And let's say that class C is inheriting A and class C is also inheriting interface B. Now this is fine. This is possible in Java. But what is the condition? That one is a class and second is an interface. So in case of uh, you are using an interface, multiple inheritance is possible in Java. The restriction is you can't do multiple inheritance with the classes. If you can't inherit two classes at the same time. But if you are using one class and one interface, then that is allowed. That multiple inheritance is allowed. Also, you can use multiple interfaces at the same time. That means instead of class A, if it is also interface like interface A, then this still is allowed. Like you can inherit multiple interfaces at the same time. So that is possible in Java. So it is completely untrue to say that Java do not support multiple inheritance. Java do support multiple inheritance, but only with the help of interfaces. You can't do multiple inheritance if both are classes. Like class A and B, suppose class A is a class and B is also a class, then you can't do multiple inheritance. As soon as one of this entity, user-defined entity, either A or B, is defined as an interface rather than class, immediately the multiple inheritance is allowed in Java, right? So time for a poll, immediate poll. You will all get a question in a minute, and there will be only 1 minute to answer. You have only 1 minute to answer this, and poll is available now. So the results are available. As you can see, 17 people have given the answer as no. Right, that is a 24%. And these people who have given the answer as no, B, these are all wrong answers, right? We just said that the Java supports multiple inheritance. So Java do support multiple inheritance. So answer is yes. So the question is incomplete, I guess. Like I should have asked Java supports multiple inheritance in the classes, in the terms of classes, then answer would have been no, right? But does Java support multiple inheritance? The answer is definitely yes. Java does support multiple inheritance, right? So let me close this view. So those who gave the answer as no, that is a wrong answer. So there is a question in the chat box. Let me take the question. Sir, please can you explain why Java doesn't support multiple inheritance? I guess, Neil, I said that Java does support multiple inheritance, right? So that is the correct answer in case of classes. So Java says that we will not provide. Why it is not provided? That is a rule defined by Java grammar. Basically, simple answer. Like Java grammar, programming single style do not support or do not allow to have multiple base classes. Right? From Aditya Kavai can be inherit A, interface B, inherit A. Okay, we are going to do this all. Yes, is interface can inherit class. Okay, so we are going to do that. Whether immediately we are going to do this, the answer is no, you can't do this. You can't do this like interfaces inheriting class. We will immediately do this with the practical example, and we'll see what is the meaning of this all. Let's focus on this. Why Java do not support multiple inheritance with the classes? That is a rule in the grammar, first of all, that Java is designed in the style that it do not allow you to inherit multiple classes. Now, what is the justification given by Java why Java is not allowing you to inherit multiple classes? Java says that it wants to remove ambiguity. If you can recall from C++ classes, if you have multiple base classes, you may have an ambiguity problem. Like say, let me take a quick example. Let's say you have two base classes. You have class A and class B. I will not put labels right now. I'll just use this diagrams. Let's say you have class A and class B, and you have a class C, which is inheriting both the classes. Now, in this both base classes, if you have something called as a data here also, and you have data method in the second class also. And now this child class, which is inheriting two classes, it wants to call data method. Which data method it will call on its own? So that is the ambiguity problem for this class. Why it is ambiguous? The data is available in both classes. So which data method it has to call? That is a problem. So we have seen that how the scope resolution operator in C++ can be used to decide which data method you want to call. and that is called as unambiguating the program or disambiguating the program, right? So that was the concept. Like you want to disambiguate your code and you use a colon operator or a resolution operator to decide whether A's data method has to be called or B's data method has to be called. So Java simply says that I don't want to deal with this ambiguity problem, so I will not allow you to inherit multiple base classes. So that is possible. That is not possible in the case of Java. Java simply do not allow you to have multiple base classes. So this ambiguity problem do not come or do not appear in Java. Secondly, the worst part of this ambiguity could be like this. So you may have one A class, then there is another B class, and then you have C, which is inheriting, and at the top you may have some other class. Let's say this is a Z class, and you have this inheritance. We have seen this problem and we call this problem as a diamond problem. I hope you are able to recall this. And it is again creating ambiguity, and to solve this again using a scope resolution operator or a colon operator and decide which method has to be called from which class. So this problem again arises because your C++ do allow multiple inheritance with the case of classes. If these are all classes, then you have a ambiguity problem in the program, or we call this specific problem as a diamond problem. And Java will never have this problem because Java do not allow the first step itself. Java do not allow you to have two base classes. So Java will not get the ambiguity question, as well as Java will never go into a diamond problem. And to avoid this, specifically these two problems, Java started not supporting multiple inheritance. I answered your question. I guess this was asked by Neil, that why Java is not supporting multiple inheritance. I guess, okay, Neil has asked this. Have I answered your question, Neil? Okay, fine, he got that. So to avoid these two problems, ambiguity problem and diamond problem, Java says that I will not support multiple inheritance, and that is a rule in the Java grammar. So if you write that code which is inheriting two classes, then the code will not compile simply. Now with this, we have a background that to discuss whether Java supports a multiple inheritance or not. So the answer to the earlier question, whether Java supports multiple inheritance or not, the answer is yes. The condition is one has to be class and the other has to be a interface, or both has to be an interface. That is also allowed. Both has to be a interface, and that do not create a diamond problem. Let's see how it works. Let me close the notepad. Let's paint, and let's start exploring the interfaces. Now let's focus. What are the different styles in which we can create an inheritance in Java? So let's say we have one interface and I will use a class. Let's say class is B, right? And I'll say class B extends A. So what do you mean by extends? Extend means you are borrowing the feature from the base and you want to add your own features. And B says that I have a display method, right? I will provide a display method. So display method is a extension from B to the features which are provided by A base, right? Println. Let's add a statement. This is this of B. Now, if we try to compile this, let me quickly open the compiler. If we try to compile this Java C second.java, we will get an error. No interface expected here. So here, when you say extends, that time, if the left-hand side is a class, now listen carefully what I'm saying. If you are using an extend keyword, and if you are inheriting for a class, like class B is extending something, then class B expects that this A is also a class and not an interface. That means when you want to extend a feature from a class to a class, now from which class we want to inherit what we can say extend the features, we are trying to extend features of A into B. Now, if you are using extends keyword along with the class keyword, then it expects that B and A both are classes. B and A are both are classes. That means if your class wants to inherit interface, if your class wants to inherit interface, then you have to compulsory use keyword implements. And what it means, let's try to compile now. Let's try to compile now. And you get a different error. Now what error is, B is not abstract and does not override abstract method data in A. So now B has taken a responsibility to implement all the features provided by A. Now A is an interface. Now A have provided one feature which is called as data. Now how we can deal with this error? Simply provide method definition. Right. So this is the first way of resolving the error. So what we can say here is, this is data of A implemented by B. So this is simple statement. Means what? Data method is originally from, have I done any mistake? Let me save this. Void data implements A and implements D, and okay, fine. What was there? Void data. Data cannot be implemented. Data in. Okay, sorry. I am not using access modifier, so that discussion yet to happen. So I have to use public keyword. And I've seen this statement many times. Like whatever we declare in an interface is by default public. Access modifier of the members of an interface is by default public. So now the thing will work. So program compile. Now I'm not calling anything, right? So if we call it, it will work. We know that. So I will not go in that detail. Now the second way to solve this is if you do not want to provide a definition of this, right? So if we don't provide a definition and if we try to compile, we get an error message that B is not abstract and does not override an abstract method called as data. So B is not abstract. What do you mean by that? If I make B class as an abstract class, will it solve the problem? Will it solve the problem? If I make class B as an abstract class, will this solve the problem? Let's try. So it solves the problem. What did it mean that? We know that from C++, like abstract classes can have abstract methods as well as non-abstract methods. Or we know that the abstract methods with pure virtual methods, right? So we can add a pure virtual method in abstract class. Let's say, let's call this method as a demo. Now the program is still fine. I'm expecting an error right now because I have to add one keyword, and this it says that missing method body or declare abstract, and where the error has come in B. So when you want to have abstract method in the class, make sure that you write that method or declare that method as abstract. Now if I compile, it will compile, right? Now program is compiling, right? So abstract class can have abstract method as well as non-abstract method. The abstract class can have abstract method as well as non-abstract method. If your abstract class is inheriting an interface, then abstract class may not implement a method body, right? So here there is no compulsion on class B to implement method data inside it. Why it is not compulsory for class B to implement method data inside it? Because class B himself is an abstract class. And the abstract class can have abstract method. Abstract method means pure virtual method. That method without body, without definition. So what is the feature of abstract class? Abstract class can have its own abstract methods as well as it can contain non-abstract methods. So like display is a method with the body. Demo is the abstract method. Why we are not writing abstract keyword in interface? Yeah, why this keyword is not compulsory in the case of interface? Like this is also abstract method, but we are not writing abstract keyword in the interface. So Java says that interfaces are expected to have only abstract methods. So it is assumed that by default, the abstract keyword is present in the case of interface. Whereas class can have abstract as well as non-abstract methods. So if we want to declare only method like pure virtual method, if we do not want to write its method body, then it is compulsory to write an abstract keyword in the case of a class. But in the case of an interface, by default, it is assumed that all the methods are abstract. So it is not made compulsory to write abstract keyword while defining a method, or sorry, declaring a method inside an interface. So here is a point. Interfaces have methods by default as abstract. So all the methods in the interface are abstract, and we do not need to specify them as abstract. Second is interface. All the members of the interface have a public access. So there is no need to write a public access modifier in the case of interface, right? So these are the two key takeaway points. How, if abstract class inherits an interface by saying implements, then it is not compulsory to provide a method definition for data. But if your regular class, which is regular class in the sense the class which is not abstract, inherits interface, if this class inherits the interface, then it is compulsory for a class to provide a method body. The error itself says that. What error says? B is not abstract. Yes, B is not declared as abstract. B is a simple class and does not override abstract method called as data. Now, as B is not abstract, it is expected that it will provide body for method data. Now the program will compile. I haven't saved this. I have to provide access modifier, public data, and now the program will compile. Somebody have unmuted himself, herself. I am getting a background noise. Everyone must be getting a background noise. Please check who have done this. Janvi said, mute yourself. Also, Vaishnavi Patil, you have to mute yourself. Fine. So time for a quick poll. Again, understanding is required. I have to conduct a quick question. So let me add a new question immediately. Right. So the question is ready now. The options will be only two options. And again, only 1 minute time you will get. Everyone will get only 1 minute time. Pool is available. I need quick answers. So here you can see that 10 people have given the wrong answer and 12 people have not submitted the answer. So most of the people have got the correct answer, like default access modifier for interface is public, right? So let's continue with this one. I hope that most of the people have got the correct answer, like the default members, default access modifier for the members of an interface is public, right? So there are 10 people who have got the wrong answer. I don't know how come they got the wrong answer. Poonam Sogole also got the wrong answer. Fine. So let me prove this again. Let me remove this access modifier, right? And let me try to compile the program. And here you can get the error that B cannot implement data in void data, attempting to assign a weaker access privilege, and semicolon was public. So it means that original access was public, which is a stronger access privilege, and you are trying to assign a weaker access privilege. There is something access privilege called as a package level access. We haven't started with that. Or a class level access. We haven't started with that. So soon we are going to start with public, private, and package level access with those all discussion. So what error says is that you are trying to assign a weaker access privilege to the data method. Right now we are not assigning anything. So it is by default something called as a package. We will see what do you mean by package shortly, right? Original was public. So when we are not writing any access modifier, in the case of interface, we are not supposed to write anything. And here also we are not writing anything. So for class and for interface, both have a default access if we do not write it. If both have a default access, we do not write it, right? And we are not supposed to write it for interface at all. So whenever we do not write any access modifier, in the case of interface, by default, look at the beauty. The line is default access modifier for the interface and default access modifier for the class. You may come across the line on the internet, you may come across the line in the books while reading the books that the default access modifier for a class is default, or there is something called as a default access. So actually interface also have a default access modifier, class also have a default access modifier. What do you mean by default? When we do not provide, something is going to come there. So in the case of interface, the default access is public, always is public. So when we are not mentioning any access modifier for a member of an interface, it is considered that it is public. And in the case of a method, in the case of a class, when we do not mention any access modifier, it is going to come as in a package. What do you mean by package in the case of Java? We will see by next lecture, of course. So what happens is, here you are trying to assign a weaker access privilege to method data. Earlier it was public in the case of interface. Now you are trying to assign a package in the case of class when you implemented it. So compiler is complaining that you cannot assign a weaker access privilege. So if I add simply public keyword, and now if we try to recompile this program, the program will compile, right? So this proves that interface always assign public access modifier to all of its members, whereas class will assign a package access modifier to its members. So what is a package access modifier? We will see in the next session, not now under this discussion, right? So I hope the 10 people who gave the wrong answer got this concept. Now let's proceed with the next discussion. We are discussing about implements and extents. So class is supposed to implement an interface. It has to provide the method definitions of all the members of interface. Or you have to declare this class as abstract. Then it is excluded that class B may not implement the members of interface if your class B is abstract. Now let's talk about interface, right? So what we will do is we will see that interface B implements A, right? and let me call this as class C. What we have in program is, we have one interface A, then we have another interface called as B, and it is saying implements A. Interface B implements A. Then we have class C, which says implements A, right? So what do you think? It is going to compile or not? Quick answers in the chat window. What do you think? What do you think whether this is right or wrong? Quick answer in the chat box. Right, wrong, right. Fine. So I have few answers, mixed answers. Like, so few people are saying yes, it is right, and few people, one person have said wrong. Okay. So Aditya have said it is wrong, and Neil has said it is wrong, and rest of the people are saying it is right. Two people are saying it is wrong. So let me put my point of view here. Remember, inheritance in Java can be done with two keywords. We have seen these both keywords. Keywords are, one is extends keyword, which we have seen in the earlier sessions, and the second keyword is implements. These both keywords are used for creating inheritance in Java. Now these keywords have a meaning. These keywords have a meaning. What do you mean by implements? Implements means you are taking a responsibility to provide a definition to the base class methods. You are supposed to take a what we can say, you are supposed to take a responsibility to implement the methods which are declared in the base. Whereas extend means you are borrowing the features from the base as it is, and you are adding your own feature, right? So first of all, can an interface have a method body if it is not declared as a default? No. Answer is no. You can't write method definition. What B is saying here is, I am trying to implement A. So it means that B is saying that I will provide definition of the body of the method which is declared by A. What is the method declared by A? Void data. And here B is saying that I am taking responsibility to implement the methods declared in A. So A have declared a method called as data, and B has taken the responsibility to implement that method. But we know that interfaces cannot define method. Interfaces can have only abstract methods, or else interfaces can have a method which is declared as default. But default is not abstract method, neither it is overriding method. So what do you mean by implements? Implement means you are taking a responsibility to override a method of a base class, compulsory override a method of a base class or an interface. So when class C says implements A, it has taken a responsibility to override a method of a base, and it has done so. It has done so by providing a method definition of a data. But what about B? Now B also is taking a responsibility to override a base method. What is a base here? A is a base, and it has taken a responsibility to override it. But we know that interfaces cannot have method body. So if B, which is an interface, does stands to its word. What is a word given by B to A? That I will provide an implementation. If B provides the implementation, that's a compilation error, because interfaces are not supposed to have method definition. They are supposed to have only method declaration or abstract methods. And here interface B is providing a method definition. So that is wrong, compilation error. But if interface B do not provide a method definition to solve the to compile with compiler or to remove the error, then it is giving a wrong promise to A. Wrong promise to A is what? I will implement method data. So it is not implementing the method data. So it is not keeping its word which is given to A. So we are in the error now. Like, you have given a word to A that you will implement, but you are an interface, so you can't implement anything, right? So let's try to compile. So here the error is interface B implements A and expected. So this is not a pretty good error, but this error says that you have an error at this some point. Now let me just change implements keyword with extends. Now what do you mean by extends inheritance? You borrow all the features from base as it is, and you want to add your own feature. So here B says that I am borrowing from data. I am borrowing from A. What A have data. But you are not promising A to implement. You are just saying that, hey A, I am extending from you. I am not promising anything that I'll implement. I am just borrowing features of you. So B is not committing A of implementing anything. B is just saying that I am going to borrow all the things which are declared by you. And B is what? B is also interface, right? Now, in this case, if we try to compile, the program compiles. So the takeaway point here is interface can extend the interface. Interface can extend the interface, right? But an interface cannot implement the interface. Interface cannot implement. This is wrong. Interface cannot implement the interface, but interface can extend the interface, right? Whereas in the case of a class, let's say example, class can implement A or B or both, but it cannot extend. It can't extend. So this is wrong. Class can't extend interface, right? So interface can extend the interface. Class can implement the interface, right? So that is the inheritance. So implement means you take a responsibility to implement the story, right? So again, a quick QA. Again, a quick poll immediately to check whether you have got it or not. Poll is available. Give quick responses. Give answers immediately. So you can see that interface can extend interface. The actual answer is true. I am very happy that only 6 people have given the wrong answer. So it means that most of the class have got the answer correct concept, right? And only 12 people have not given any response. So fine. 10 people have not given any response. So that is a very short count. we can proceed with this one, right? Now, a new question. Again, a quick question and answers are expected. Poll is available. Give poll immediately. So this poll is saying like 39 people have got the correct answer. Abstract class A implements B. B is the interface. A may not implement methods declared by B. So this is true, right? It works. And 24 people have got the answer as wrong answer. That is a huge count. 33% people are not getting the concept. I will revise it shortly for you people. So let's revisit the concept of abstract. I will just keep only two things in the program now, interface and class, let's say class B. And it says implements A, right? Now I'll save the program and I'll try to compile. Now I'll get an error. Error is B is not abstract and does not override abstract method data. So either B have to provide a method definition of data, that is write method body, right, and make sure that it is public. And now if I try to compile, the program compiles. The second way is if B is like, let me remove this, and this is just a method. Let's not do anything. Let's B is not doing anything. just closed accidentally. Notepad second dot. What we will do is we'll add abstract keyword to the class B. Now we try to compile and the program compiles. So it means that if your class is abstract, then it is not forced to class B to write a method definition of A, right? So this is fine. Now what we will do is, for the experimental purpose, let me, so don't focus on class second, it is not operational class. What we will do is we'll write class C and we'll say extends B. So what it does mean is class C is borrowing properties from B. Class B. B do not have anything declared inside it, so automatically B has nothing inside it. But see, focus on guys, this is forming a multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. What is the first level? First level is A, which have abstract method called as data. Second level of the inheritance is abstract class B, which is implementing A, and it is abstract. So it is not forced to class B that it has to write a definition of data method. So it can skip the implementation of data method. So this is the second level of the inheritance. And what is the third level of inheritance? Third level of inheritance is class C is extending B. Let me take paint to help you figure out or imagine what is the inheritance status. So this is my A, this is my B, and this is my C. Right? So A is been inherited by B and B is been inherited by C. So we call this as a multi-level inheritance. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. So we have multi-level inheritance in our program, right? And C is inheriting B and B is inheriting A. That means C is also inheriting A indirectly. How indirectly C is inheriting A? Look, C has inherited B and B has inherited A. So it means that indirectly C is also inheriting A. As B was abstract, it was a special permission for B to not override method declared by A, but that is not case with the C. C is saying that I am extending B and B is abstract class. So now if I try to compile the program, now error is with the C. Look at the error. Error is same. If this was the old error message, this is the new error message. Look at these both messages. C is not abstract and does not override abstract method data in A. So now again, C has two options. What are the two options? Make C abstract again. This will solve the problem. This will solve the problem. Or write the method definition. Void, okay, public, void, data. Now if we try to compile, still the program will compile. So the multi-level inheritance, how it has been treated, like class C inherits B and B is inheriting A. So automatically it becomes the responsibility of class C to write method definition for data, right? And how this can be resolved the second way. Let me remove this abstract keyword from here. Now it is the responsibility of class B itself to implement the method definition of data. So it has to do it. Why? It is the responsibility of B because B is not abstract. So it must compulsory implement method data. So it has implemented. Now again, class C do have access to this data method because it is inheriting B. And this B is inheriting A. Let's try to compile now, whether the program compiles or not, or whether C again has to implement the method definition of data. Let's try. Now the program compiles. Why? Because as C is inheriting B and we have already implemented method data, which is from A, it is not bothering C. And C is not expected to write method definition of data because it is already been implemented by B. So that is the beauty of this inheritance, right? And if B becomes abstract, abstract and do not provide this definition of method, then it becomes the responsibility of class C to write this method definition. Let me compile now. If I put a comment on this, and if we compile, then this is the error. Quick responses in chat box. Do you really got the concept of this inheritance, multiple inheritance? Yes, no, or if you have any doubt. Okay, great. So most of the people have got it. There is no question or doubt. Just there is one +1 symbol by Bhagyesh. Bhagyesh, can you tell me what you mean by that +1, or you have anything else to say? You got it or you have a doubt? Okay, fine. You also got it. So this is about multi-level inheritance. Now let's try multiple inheritance, right? So for avoiding confusion, let me remove this abstract keyword. Let me have this class B, or let's say interface B extends A. Now let's see, this is also a very good case. Like here, B do not have anything inside it, but it is extending properties from A. And now I'll write class C, which says implements B, right? Implements B. And again, it will not write anything. Now, quick answers in the chat box. What is your calculation? The program will compile or it will have error? What do you think? It will compile or it will give error? Quick answers in chat box. One answer is error from Neil. So I'm happy to see all the responses. Every student is giving the answer as error, which is right, right? Let's try. Let's try. CLS Java C second dot Java, and we get error, right? And we know that now as C has implemented B and B is extending A, it means that it is liability of C to provide method definition of data. Now this program will compile. Sorry, I haven't saved it, or I've done anything wrong. Implements void data. Have I done something wrong? What is a error class interface enum expected? I guess I have a spelling mistake. INTERFACE. Fine. And the program compiles. So you got this, right? This is a multi-level inheritance. Now immediately let's start with multiple inheritance. Let me avoid this. Let me avoid this. Although it do not create anything, if any effect on the program, let me write method disp here. And now what class C can do is implements A, comma B. Now you have multiple inheritance with the help of interfaces. Public void disp. And now you are providing method definition of data, which is from A, as well as method definition of disp, which is from B. So you are inheriting two parents at the same time. So your class C have two parents now, A and B, but both are interfaces. And with the help of interfaces, you can have multiple inheritance in the case of Java. So now if I compile, this compiles. Also, let's add one more class. Let's call this class as D. And in the case of class D, I will add some feature. Let's call this method as void, what we can say, demo, right? Method called as demo. And now what class C can do is, class C will say, I am extending D and implementing A and B. Now in this case, class C have three parents. Out of the three parents, one is the class, which is D, and two are the interfaces, which is A and B. Now let's try to compile the program. The program again compiles. So what it does mean is that a class can inherit at the max one class, and it can inherit n number of interfaces. Again, this is a good example of multiple inheritance. This is also a good example of multiple inheritance. So remember guys, in Java, a class can at max inherit only one other class. So C can inherit only one class, which is D. That's it. It no longer can inherit another class. But there is no such limitation on implementing interfaces. You can have as many interface implementation as you want. You can go on adding up to n. You can inherit as many interfaces as you want. You can inherit only one class. You can inherit only one class, right? Why it has been done in Java? To avoid diamond problem, to avoid ambiguity problem, right? So this is absolutely fine. Do you got the concept? Or you have any doubt? Post it in chat box. Is it clear? Great, great. So most of the student have got the answer. I'm getting the responses. Yes, you got it clear. Great. So what we will do is we will in the next session we will start with something called as access modifier packaging scheme in Java. Now, as we are clear with multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance and how an interface can extend the interface, a class can implement a interface, and a class can extend a class. So we have seen this, right? So in the next session, our focus will be in understanding what is access modifiers and what is the effect. So indirectly, directly, I'm hinting that in the next session, we are going to discuss something called as a packaging in Java, right? So if possible, we will have an extra session tomorrow, maybe on Sunday or Monday. We are going to have an extra session. I will post it in advance in the WhatsApp group when we are going to have it. I will post at least 2 to 3 hours earlier when we are going to have an extra session. And that session will focus on discussing packaging in Java. Fine. Is it okay for everyone? Great. So see you in the next session, maybe tomorrow, which is Sunday, or maybe on Monday. So see you in the extra session, where we will discuss about packaging. You can leave the meeting, no issues.